So we are live. So we're going to be starting the show here in a little bit. If you happen to be watching now, either live or maybe you're watching the recording after the fact, this is Stormfront Freaks Raw. So we call it Raw because this is the unedited recording of the show. This is episode 88 tonight. We've got author and journalist Andrew Blum with us. So we're going to be looking forward to chatting with him a little bit. And we also have got Weather Fools and Weather Trollbot 5000 tonight. So this is going to be awesome. But if you are watching live, especially on YouTube, there is a YouTube chat. Feel free to chat if you've got any questions as we go on. Maybe even for Andrew, feel free to ask a question. And MJ is going to be watching that. If it looks good, he'll probably add that to our little chat box, and we can maybe ask Andrew. Or in between. So you're going to get to watch all the breaks and all the crazy stuff that we do that we always edit out of the actual podcast. If you would rather watch or listen to, the edited podcast.
The clean.
It's edited, yes. Especially tonight with Weather Trollbot.
Yeah.
You can listen to the audio podcast. We usually upload that, and that's available Sunday following the show. And again, this is episode 88, so look for it on Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple Podcasts, and your favorite podcast app should have it. So, all right, so Maz, welcome. Got you going.
Hey, how you doing?
We got Jen here, and Andrew's here drinking.
Hello.
5-year-old beer.
5-year-old what?
Literally 5-year-old beer, 2014.
I'm going to leave it over there just for that. We'll see how things go. Yeah.
Was it open?
No risk.
No, it was in my office fridge. So
for a long time.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
All right, so just some housekeeping items. It looks like everybody's levels are good. So when you log in, one of the things I always ask you guys to do is switch your camera to 720 HD. Which is usually the highest it'll do. If you need to check, you can just go to the bottom of your screen, hit settings, and just check you're on 720 HD. I think everybody's mic is good. And
did I just hear
Andrew,
traffic?
There we go. Did that help?
I know. I did hear traffic.
I heard traffic.
Must be Andrew.
It's
Andrew,
me. Yep.
Andrew,
Yep.
tap on your mic. Do me a favor, tap on your mic.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep, perfect.
Okay.
Good. All right, yeah, Andrew's got a good mic, so we're ready to go with that. Don't forget, mute your phones if you have to. Try and keep your mic kind of close to your mouth as close as you kind of can. And if you happen to get knocked off for any reason, the link will just get you right back on, and MJ will log you back in. All right, so we'll get started. I'll do the normal introduction. We'll introduce the co-hosts tonight. MJ, am I not going to introduce you? Nope. Okay. MJ's having some audio issues. Okay. Oh, I'm not going to speak tonight. Audio issues. He
you
says
either?
in the chat box.
Oh, no.
So we'll introduce Maz and Jen, and then we will go to Maz. You're doing the introduction of Andrew.
That sounds great.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. And then you'll start us off. You'll start us off with an intriguing question, I'm sure. And we'll do questions and answers. I'd say about 20 after. We'll take a quick break. I'll go into that break. Then we'll come back, a few more questions, and then lightning round for Andrew. And then we'll take our we'll cover stuff in break. But so we'll go questions and answers here for about 20 minutes or so before the first break. Andrew, any questions? You good?
Nope. I think we're good.
Cool. You ready to have some fun, sir?
Yes. I'm afraid. I am still afraid.
I'll know that you're ready to have some fun when you open that 5-year-old beer.
I got it open. I'm just afraid to drink it. So.
Do it. I gotta see it.
Just put your tongue and just taste it. Like,
come on.
Yeah,
it's beer.
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
It's beer that's been in the fridge. What do you do?
See my mug? See my phone?
Oh, where'd you get that? That's cool.
I don't know. This really cool store that sells it.
Wow, you got to fill me in on that.
Oh my God, I have a green T-shirt too somewhere.
Let's not get in front of
you guys ready?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, quick sound check. We good on that? Yep, sounds good. Okay, so here we go. Coming in 3, 2. Hey, welcome everybody to the most entertaining weather podcast on your listening and viewing device. This is the award-winning Stormfront Freaks podcast. And if you're listening for the first time, hey, thanks for looking us up. And don't forget to visit stormfrontfreaks.com to access our library of past shows with famous guests from the weather industry. We've had author of The Man Who Caught the Storm, Brantley Hargrove. He was with us once. We've also had Severe Storms Lab scientist Harold Brooks. But tonight, this is episode 88, and we're with the author of the new book, The Weather Machine. Andrew Blum is here tonight.
Yeah.
So we're excited to be talking to Andrew about his book. And as always, we get to play the lightning round game show with Andrew. And I will say this, you are in for a treat tonight as you're getting double the pleasure and double the fun because we have hashtag Weather Fools and a visit from Weather Trollbot 5000.
Oh, man.
Before we get to all of that, before Maz leaves the show,
Thanks.
we're going to introduce our co-host. Best way to do it, it's always happy hour. Anytime we record, it's always happy hour. We step up to the Stormfront Freaks bar, and we always ask you to join us. If you're not at work or driving, you're certainly welcome to...
Or under 21.
Or that too, to join us. But let's find out what everyone's drinking because we're here to have a good time. Maz, what are you sucking down tonight?
Oh, I'm going easy tonight. I'm overly carbed, so I went Mick Ultra because I'm watching my diet.
You are. Yeah. You've really gone. You went from the high carb craft beer.
Oh yeah.
To the low carb water. Basically,
it's quite refreshing.
Very good. Very good. All right, Jen Watson, welcome back.
Oh my God.
What are you drinking tonight?
Oh, so I've got a fabulous mug. I don't know if you can see it. Stormfront Freaks. Yes.
Oh, where'd you get that?
You know, we do have a store. We have shirts and stuff too.
Yeah. Felicity.co.
Yep. Okay. I am drinking some deliciously warm hot chocolate. I'm going a little crazy tonight. Usually it's sparkling water. If I drink alcohol, I just got my daughter down. If I drink alcohol, I'm going to fall asleep. And I want to be here. But plus, it feels amazing outside, guys. It's like a chill to the air. And we've been in like the 90s near 100. So it's like hot chocolate weather.
Wow. Wait, how hot is it?
It was in the low 80s.
Cool.
But now it's cooling into the 70s. And there's a breeze. No, but Maz, wait a minute. So
that's not hot chocolate weather.
Well, hey, I got to do this. So we always tell our guests, you know, if we've got a digital green room, and if we had it fully stocked, we'd let you join us. So, Andrew, I hear you are joining us here at the bar tonight. What are you drinking, sir?
Well, I didn't come very prepared, but I found in my office fridge a Brooklyn lager with a vintage label because it expired in 2014.
Yeah.
Have you tried it a little bit?
I took one sip and I'm not going to take another because I think that.
I thought you said it wasn't too bad.
The aftertaste has not been good. So
okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, let's do this. Let's give Andrew a good introduction.
All right. Excellent. Hey, Andrew Blum is an author and journalist writing about technology, infrastructure, architecture, design, cities, art, travel. Man, you're into everything, aren't you? As a magazine journalist, he was published dozens of feature stories in publications including Time, Wired, Popular Science, Vanity Fair, and the New York Times. His previous book, Tubes, A Journey to the Center of the Internet, was the first ever book-length look at the physical infrastructure of the internet. Now, his new book, The Weather Machine, A Journey Inside the Forecast, was published in June of this year, 2019. So welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so what was it that sparked this idea to begin with? How did you even boom, this is a book I got to do?
I mean, I was writing mostly about infrastructure. You know, I was kind of looking around, thinking about what the sort of range of big complex systems are. The sweet spot for me is things that we kind of all touch every day that are, you know, completely ubiquitous, but also are complicated enough that the barrier to entry is a little bit higher. I feel like those are the things that books can do better than magazine articles. And I also kind of knew that there's something that there's the sort of tools of journalism can do different from the people who are in this every single day. I think, think about things like weather models. I felt like I could tell a story about weather models in a different way than the people who build them. But the impetus, and this is how I begin the book, but the impetus where it all kind of came together was with Hurricane Sandy. So it's 2012. It's almost exactly 7 years ago, and I was just remember being completely shocked by the speed at which all of the meteorologists I followed on Twitter immediately freaked out that Sunday afternoon, 8 days before the storm. And it was confusing because it was clearly, this wasn't about any kind of intuition. This wasn't about the sort of close look at the maps or any kind of analysis that was being done in a human way. This was entirely the output of the weather models. And obviously that was an incredible model run by the Euro sort of famous model run that Sunday afternoon, 8 days before the storm hit New York. And I really just had not caught up with the fact that the weather models had gotten so good. And I had not caught up with the fact that that they'd become a kind of different kind of tool than I don't know. I don't even know what I thought they were. Began to poke around and began to realize that in fact these improvements had been relatively recent. That in fact there was a sort of culmination of call it 100 years of work by meteorologists, and this sort of confluence of all of these systems from supercomputers to satellites. And realized that I thought there was a book there, that there was a story to be told about how we'd gotten to the point we're at today in meteorology, driven so much by these technologies that are also a big part of our life in many other forms.
Now, were you real quick? I got to ask this: were you a history minor at all? Because the history in this, the storytelling, I was intrigued by everything. Like, oh, that's where that came from. I honestly did not know a lot of that information. Jen probably did.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Very true, Naz. Andrew, I'm just intrigued by, all the things that you've done and covered and written about. What caused you to start? Tell us about your journey. You're like, okay, Hurricane Sandy, and you didn't realize that, wow, the weather models have actually improved that significantly. So where did you start? Where were you like, okay, I got to go here, I got to do this, and then kind of explain sort of your journey that you went on?
Yeah, I sort of puttered around with the idea for a while, and then in January of 2014. I decided, or a little bit before that, in the fall of 2013, I decided that it was time to get serious about this idea. And I went to AMS, to the American Meteorological Society conference, which that year was in Atlanta.
Oh my God, I was there.
Yep. And it was amazing because it was a chance to kind of wander the halls and go to a lot of sessions and pick out, who find the interesting characters and interesting stories. And most remarkably, the kind of weather journalist press corps, as much as it is, Jason Same now with the Washington Post, Guy Walton, Bob Henson, kind of welcomed me in. They never, had just said, join us for dinner, come hang out with us. We'll kind of point you in the right directions. Just were incredibly generous in sort of sharing, sharing their insights. And it was really from there that I met a lot of key people and began to kind of track the course of how I wanted to do this. The second piece of it was actually I was introduced to a guy named Robert Pincus, who's an atmospheric scientist. He lives in Brooklyn, but he's his kind of institutional affiliation is in Colorado. And he kind of over many lunches began to answer all my dumb questions. I kind of feel like as a journalist, you can come in dumb, but you're supposed to come out a little smarter. But coming in dumb's okay. And that and that was and then the next big step for me was I went to the WRF users workshop in Boulder that June.
Nice.
And same thing, a room full of experts. And I would just go up to them at the coffee breaks and ask them a lot of questions. And I had a short magazine article to work on. I kind of had an excuse to ask them a bunch of questions for Modern Farmer magazine, which actually no longer exists. But it was that kind of lay the groundwork of beginning to sort of realize who the relatively small pool of people are, primarily in the weather modeling world. I wasn't going to sort of touch the broader meteorological world. I wasn't. It was a different thing than I was after. I kind of wanted to start at the narrow end of the funnel to see what kind of stories I could tell from that.
I love that. Go ahead, Miss.
I was going to say, you interviewed and met and spoke with a whole bunch of people. Who was your favorite? What was it? Thomas Jefferson?
Thomas Jefferson was a good interview. Yeah, he's a bit stuffy. Actually, it's not in the book, but I went to Philadelphia to see the room that he ostensibly wrote the Declaration of Independence in. Just kind of, I really just kind of stuck. Like, took the commuter train one day and just said, like, what would it be like to try to describe the starting point of the story with American meteorology with Jefferson? Yeah. It ended up on the cutting room floor, but it was really it was my foolish attempt to actually try to interview Thomas Jefferson. So you joke, but
no, it's good.
It was a dry conversation. Sure.
Yes.
So what, Andrew, explain to us some of the most surprising findings and most intriguing findings along this journey that would surprise like the everyday person, even, a meteorologist that went to school for this.
Yeah. I think, the rate of improvement of the models never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah.
We can talk about the Euro and the GFS and all that, but what we're really talking about when we talk about that is which one is getting better faster. Everything's getting better all at once. And it's tricky because for meteorologists and for the public, I think there's a kind of way of thinking about how well things work and what our expectations are. And behind that, we have this incredible improvement, every 6 months, year by year. I love to put it, you can put it in terms of the iPhone. When the iPhone came out, the weather models weren't as good, noticeably. The Monday forecast for the weekend wasn't great. You need the Tuesday forecast or the Wednesday forecast. So 10 years later, we've picked up a day in a way that I kind of see in practice constantly. And I think that's still, again, we've had an amazing, terrifying last, 6 weeks or so, but with just so many of these examples where the tools that we now have at our disposal to know what's coming, even if they can't, of course, change what's coming, have become really powerful. And I think that, strangely, that's a surprise. That's a surprise to all of us.
So go ahead, Jen, keep going.
So what do you think is the biggest thing that we have lacking in the meteorological world in forecasting? What is the biggest thing that we need to help us better to get forecasts a lot farther in advance and warnings and everything like that?
Game show hosts.
Yeah,
it's true.
I think there are two ways to think about that question. Actually, at first I thought you were asking sort of what's missing from the way we talk about the weather, what's missing from how we use the forecast. And I think that's a really interesting conversation. But I guess the other way to answer that is really what do we need to make to technically make the forecast better, to make the models better, and all of that. Let me take the second part, because I think it's a little bit easier. Don't take it down a different road. I'm amazed by in visiting the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasts, home of the Euro, and in talking to some of the different satellite experts and developers and things like that. It really sounds like the wind observing satellites are going to be a major breakthrough. That seems to be the thing that they're most excited about. That's which was surprising to me. And then certainly the microwave sounders over the last 10 years that have come into the polar orbiters. Not the geostationary satellites, not the GOES, which of course are the ones we kind of drool over mostly. It's really the polar orbiters that have the data that can't be seen, all the numerical data, the data that's kind of, more useful for computers than for people, that have been driving so much of the improvement in the models, not and we can talk about that distinction between the models and the forecasts. But but I think, that's pretty promising. It seems like, we've got, the rate of improvement is going to increase from how I read it.
So my question, Andrew, you talk, what I like about the book is, so you talk about the history and you start with how did we get good at forecasting weather, starting from, the big advancement of the telegraph, for example.
Telegraph's a good technology. It's of being
able to communicate to other people of what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But you also then you keep going down the line and you get into you talk about the GOES satellites and you talk about the data that these models are getting. So through my question is, what do you feel through all these advancements? And obviously there's, just like technology, it's the advancements now happen so much faster than the advancements, did 100 years ago to even a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
What did you feel through all that research? What do you think was the biggest advancement so far in weather forecasting? What was it?
I mean, it's really the satellite era. I mean, that's really the thing. And I don't think I realized that when I started. I thought satellites were one piece of the observing system, and I mean, they are one piece of the observing system. But the ability to get a picture of the entire Earth, and that's not just a sort of technical thing. It's almost more of a philosophical thing. This sort of getting accustomed as humans to looking down on the Earth rather than only looking up at the sky, has been such a defining change for everything. I mean, that not just the kind of blue marble picture of the Earth, but the actual technical ability for satellites to measure the entire atmosphere as a step, importantly, for a global atmospheric model. That's the key tool that's giving us longer range forecasts. And my bias in the book and kind of my sort of interest is in this sort of medium and longer range. That kind of seeing into the future. I find it's kind of my East Coast bias. I think I'm it's more about the snowstorm coming 5 days than it is about the front coming in 3 hours. But yeah, I think that ability to have an entire picture of the globe as a tool towards stepping farther back or forward in time for longer range forecasts is really, I think, what's the crux of it for me.
I love that. So just thinking about the international alliance that we have, because I believe it was the 1900 hurricane that hit Texas, and we weren't really talking well with the meteorologists in Cuba. We didn't get, accurate information. There wasn't a lot of communication. And so we were kind of caught off guard with that. I know there's more of a story to that. But when thinking of, okay, sometimes, countries, politically, we don't get along. Is there a weakness somewhere that you're concerned of, kind of going through this research and everything that could potentially hurt or hinder our growth in the golden age of meteorology, as you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think that at the moment we've got a lot of momentum. We've got a really mature global system of exchanging weather observations, where we've got a really mature system of those observations being pulled into the global weather models and then being distributed back out to the world. I think that there is the risk that we kind of take that friendly and constant and sort of very carefully calibrated exchange of global data for granted. And I think, one of the risks, and it's not happening yet, but you kind of can begin to see the seams of it, is with a shift towards private satellites and private observations of different kinds, whether, from car sensors or smartphones or things like that. Where you see this really clearly, the private satellite companies now, companies like Spire, they want to be able to sell their data more than once. And according to the current rules of the road for how weather data is exchanged globally among weather services around the world, that doesn't work. If NOAA insisted that no, they're not going to share that data, and the Europeans said, well, then we're not going to share our data back. The potential for this 150-year-old system to fragment, and you don't have that global weather exchange, global exchange of data, is there. And we'd all last about 2 days. That would be that. That everything, the whole system would fall apart. There'd be some inertia in the system for a couple more days, and then there would be no more 5-day forecast. That would be it. So I think it hasn't happened yet, but there are certainly some trends that point towards it if we're not careful with what we have.
Have you thought about turning this into a movie? Because I've thought about 2 or 3 movies that could come out of this.
No. I mean, no.
Or you're going to have to private message me. All right.
Okay. All right. Good.
All right. Well,
and it's not Sharknado. It's not Sharknado.
It's not Sharknado. We're gonna take a quick break. Go ahead and refill your drink and check out our exclusive tracker chat with the Tornado Trackers as they discuss. Listen to this: their favorite eateries on Chase Day. Does that sound cool or what?
Yeah.
I think it's good. All right, we'll be right back. Cool.
Good stuff, Andrew.
Andrew, you're so fascinating.
I know.
I want to go on your journey. I wish
could
that
be like
we had
sitting on my
met
couch
somehow.
reading Twitter now, but it's an exciting night. Yeah.
No,
Hey,
it's
so
so
this
awesome.
this is cool. So we can see the live comments on our YouTube chat. So
You can?
you see where our private chat is?
Yeah.
There's a tab right next to it that says live comments. Shout out there, Shane Adams. I see Chris Tyne is on.
Oh, cool. People are so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else we got? Parker. Parker's back. What's up, Parker?
Hey, dudes and dudettes.
He's thinking about trying a homebrew at some point.
I like that.
I love our chat. They start talking about beer. That's always a good sign.
5-year-old.
Yeah, that's
It's
good.
the aged.
That's good. All
That's
right.
not yeast.
Kyle's. Oh, we also have Kyle's Cheesy Cumberland
I'm
division.
regretting that sip.
So welcome, Kyle. Okay. So, any questions? Everything going good?
Yeah.
All right.
I
So
like this.
we will come back from break with some more questions. Jen, Maz, you guys still have some other questions?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
good. So we'll come back. I'll ask one, and then we'll get going again.
Okay.
And then I don't know. We'll maybe give it another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll go to the lightning round. Sound good?
Sounds awesome.
Can we reply to the people that are online as well from
You
here? Or do we have to
can't.
go to it?
No,
we can't?
You can't. Matt,
What
Mark,
the-
MJ is the only one that can actually
Oh, MJ, I'm
reply
sending
back.
you
And
vibes.
he's
I'm saying-
MJ, can you reply back on YouTube or can you do it on StreamYard? Yardstream. Both?
I like StreamYard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
It's cool.
Cool. Yeah, so give you a little background, Andrew. We got kicked off of Google Hangouts like everybody else did. We used to use
Yeah.
Google Hangouts
Yeah.
as a
We
way
were
to
too
do
cool.
this and record it. And it would record straight to YouTube for us. And then, we were like told like everybody else, we're dropping it in 2 weeks. So we had to find something
Yeah.
else, and this has been a good find.
Everybody's into Zoom these days, but Zoom doesn't do that kind of broadcast, does it? Or it's
Zoom can do some things. I don't
Yeah.
know that it as easily can put on the lower
is amazing
thirds
in the
and
browser.
do all this
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
It looks really good.
Yeah.
But
I like it.
okay. So we will come back, and I will ask the first question. You ready?
yeah.
All right, coming back in 3, 2. Hey, welcome back, everybody. So we're with Andrew Blum, author of the new book, The Weather Machine, A Journey Inside the Forecast. By the way, I've got a copy right here that I will mention this later, but HarperCollins sent to us to be able to give to one of our fans. So keep a lookout on our Twitter account next week, which is at Stormfront Freak without the S. Keep a lookout on that. We'll post how you can be in the drawing to win Andrew's book. So thanks to HarperCollins for that. But Andrew, so I've got another question. I don't know why I was thinking this. Must have been a little bit of Maz in me because he's always thinking the money angle on things. But
Good thing, right?
so
Yeah.
so again, as you were talking early on, one of the advances that happened, and this was, I believe it was around the 1850s, but the Smithsonian headquarters started putting together and using telegraph, but starting to put together a world map, U.S. It was
Yes,
just
ma'am.
U.S.
Yep.
observations, massive map, and then they were posting like the observations they'd get from everybody
Yeah, I mean
on
the
this
only
big map.
there's no image of it that we know that exists, but apparently they're like little discs, like little paper discs, and they would stick them on on little pins in each observation point with the latest whatever had been sent by telegraph that morning with the temperature and conditions.
I think would just be cool to see that.
Mm.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, there needs to be a weather app that has a visual image that looks like a big board with a bunch of stick pins in it with observations.
It's funny. It's how I picture the Weather Underground layer with all the observation stations. That's kind of I pictured high up on the wall with paper discs. But
I do you know what the reason was why the Smithsonian headquarters chose to be the central headquarters for those observations and information?
That's a good question. It would have predated the start of the Weather Bureau. So there was no National Weather Service or Weather Bureau as was before. And the Smithsonian was, as it is now, a kind of scientific organization. So it was these the program. There was funding, I think, from Congress, government funding for Smithsonian observers. Where they could, they would get a stack of postcards at first and would send them in with observations, and they could begin to kind of retroactively draw a map of weather across the country. And then at some point, I guess it would have been the 1850s there, as the telegraph came in. That system sort of went live, where you had observers sort of tapping in their observations, each morning, and then the map getting updated day by day. But it would have been, pre-Weather Bureau, but would have been government funding for those observations from the Smithsonian as this kind of scientific organization.
Wasn't there a big gap after that too? Because like janitor Bob plugged in a fan and all the stuff on the wall came down. Is that what happened?
Everyone always blames Bob.
That's right.
Civil War happened. That was one piece of it. The map split in half. So you don't have you lose your observations from the south. And then the Smithsonian burned. So it was the original. Yeah,
Bob again. Yeah,
slowed things down a bit.
So Andrew, for everyone that's listening, can you give us like a quick 60-second version of the history coming from dating back to like the 1800s or whatever, 1850 to modern meteorology, like the biggest turning points up until now?
Well, can I use that 60 seconds to not answer the question?
Yes.
I guess the thing that was really interesting to me was if you start with the weather models and work backwards, you end up with a different history. There's a history of meteorology that sort of, is about the way in which the forecast improved year by year. And there's a different history of meteorology that's about how the numerical weather prediction was sort of first conceptualized and then improved. Because to answer your question more properly, first you have the telegraph. So first you have this ability to kind of communicate, immediately across place. And that's the kind of step one. And then thinking about the weather models, you have Wilhelm Bjerknes, this Norwegian meteorologist, who essentially wrote down the equations that describe the evolution of the atmosphere, and had no way to calculate them, of course. And so his project was kind of considered a failure, really for 50 or almost 60 years. But the equations kind of persisted, and then by the time we had computers, and beginning sort of after World War II in the 50s, you could begin to kind of actually put them into place and calculate the weather, the future weather before the future actually came. And with that kind of steady improvement of computing from the 50s, until the present, it was about the mid 70s that operational weather model kicked in. And you guys tell me, but I would call it not until the last 15 years ago, where the models really began to rise up past being a single tool among equals and really become a kind of dominant way that the forecast is put together. More and more so each year, and I know that's sort of debatable, but it is striking to me that there's a different history of forecasting that exists separate from numerical weather prediction using the weather models, and that kind of follows a different track than actually tracing what the historical developments of the models themselves were.
I love that, Andrew.
Yeah, I was going to say it was amazing because when I was back in the 80s and the limited fine mesh came out first, and then the NGM is out. This is amazing. But back then, we were still looking at it as like, yeah, it's kind of guidance. And so as a meteorologist, you were like, okay, but you know what? I don't think that's going to happen. Today, it's very, very different. There's times when I would have looked at something and been like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And then just like it said in the model, there's that little thunderstorm that popped up right over this one county. And you're like, how in the heck did it? You know what I'm saying? Where you kind of look at it as a meteorologist and go, well, guess I could wash cars or something in the future.
Well, that's not fair though. I mean, that's, because I think, and this is, I'm not making this up, but it's really interesting to me that the better the forecast becomes, the more important the decision making becomes.
Yeah.
And the higher stakes the decisions. If everyone thinks the forecast is no good, or you've no confidence in the forecast, then you shouldn't really be making decisions with it anyway. But now that the forecast is very good, we have big decisions to make, often farther in advance than we've considered making them before. Again, it's been a wild 6 weeks, but it's just been amazing to see the decisions made and not made. I mean, I think of Miami, Dorian sort of turning towards it, and everyone just kind of saying, this is no worries. We know what this is going to do. And I put this question on Twitter to Eric Blake at the Hurricane Center. What would this have looked like 30 years ago? What would be going on right now there 30 years ago? And it's agreed. There weren't the tools to know it was going to turn up the coast. It would have been the evacuation of whatever it is.
We had Dr. Hobgood on, last year or something, and he was my professor back in Nebraska. And so, as a numerical modeler with hurricanes, he would actually drive to Chicago to run his program, because it would take, like a part of a weekend up there, but it would have taken a whole week or two at Nebraska at the time. Yeah. And now that with the Cray computers and the computations of 2.5 hours or less, it's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And we all kind of, and again, these are hot button issues in meteorology. We can complain about, whether or not it's good to post a single model run for 6 days out. But they're there. They exist. That data exists, and I think that there is a transition that is happening, but I think still needs to happen more in this mesh between the technical systems we have, between the meteorologists and the public. And there's a lot of hand waving about social media changes things, et cetera, et cetera. But I really do think everyone's role is evolving in a different way, and the conversation is changing. I think certainly, but there's still more to happen, I think.
I kind of agree with you, Andrew. It's interesting how weather models are available for everyone. I mean, even if you're like a geek and you're 12 years old, I mean, you could put out a forecast on social, which makes it a little bit scary. And where we have those forecasts where they're like 10 days out, there's going to be a massive snowstorm that, dumps 4 feet of snow on New York City. What are you going to do? So it's like the whole, like, now you should do a book on like social evolution, I don't know.
It's so interesting. But the funny thing about, I think that, the proverbial kind of, teenager posting model outputs hysterically, I think, that's crazy. But I do think the opposite, the saying, well, we shouldn't share with the public these model runs because we know that they're not necessarily going to be right. I don't think that's necessary. To me, that doesn't make sense. When you can't complain that the public's going to take things seriously and think it's right, and then also complain that the public thinks you're wrong, right? It's sort of like, everyone knows that the forecasts change. If there's a clear communication of confidence, then you have a new tool to make decisions with it. So we lose Jen.
Have they ever run the model just out as fast as possible, years ahead in the future? I know the errors would be crazy, but it would be just fascinating to see what they came up with. Like, hey, the year 2100, here's what's going on.
You mean with the weather model itself?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that when they do, this is not. I'm a little shaky with this, but they do the sort of 28-day runs and things like that, and they can show some big trends, but I think they start to get wonky pretty quickly. But the flip side, though, is that 8 days is pretty good. 8 days is totally reasonable. Not all the time, but certainly some of the time. Good.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I was going to say, talking about the forecast, like, because the super tornado outbreak of 2011, we knew literally, even 8 days out, the models were starting to look like we were going to have a bad outbreak. Yeah. But we're just like, I don't know, that could be just a weird model run. And then I remember it was the Friday before, like, it happened on a Wednesday. That Friday before, 5 days out, they started putting out the National Weather Service and everyone. That was like the most well forecasted, generational tornado outbreak we've ever had. And even then, though, sadly,
right.
we lost so many people.
And is that's the outbreak that's kind of pointed at as the shift in the Weather Service's direction, right? That they're of shifting towards communication of impacts and rather than the forecast itself. I mean that's a real turning point in the way that the role of meteorologists is aiding decision makers. I think has changed.
Yeah. No, it's true. It was one of those that even I was on camera in Tupelo, Mississippi, and we had technically, I think, 3 EF5 tornadoes in our viewing area that touched down at different points. And so, I mean, it was devastating, but it's how do you even, I remember that day because literally it was if you hear thunder, get underground. Because I mean, every storm was spinning and dropping things. But, thinking ahead to the future and through your research, do you have a lot more respect for meteorologists? Not that you never had respect for meteorologists, but is there an overarching feel of just wow, there's so much more to the forecast than just what you see on TV?
She's fishing. She's fishing.
Yeah,
Compliment.
When you say meteorologists, what do you mean? do you mean the whole? You mean the kind of the whole from soup to nuts, or do you mean more the piece between the weather models and Americans? Or
I guess we meteorologists get the bad rap of we just guess and whatever, but it takes a lot of true meteorologists look at multiple different weather models, and it's not just and so I think the overall engineer scientists that make the models and keep up with it, and then there's the meteorologists that actually have to interpret the models and make the forecast. But it's all it has to be a well-oiled machine because if the one's maintaining the models. So, and I feel a lot of people have no idea how in depth really the forecast and weather is.
I mean, well, I'll be honest with you, and I'll kind of preface this with a description. I joke that I sort of have Stockholm syndrome with these topics that I get into. When I wrote about the internet, it was really it's the people who ran the network were the heroes. Throughout the sort of process of this book, it was really the weather modelers that were the heroes. And as a result, there was a period of time, and again, I started thinking about this heavily in 2012, and I think it's changed in those 7 years. But there was a period of time where I was very frustrated by, first, the unwillingness of some meteorologists to acknowledge what they were getting from the models, to really kind of keep the models at arm's length, because Maz, as they were threatening it somehow, that they kind of were doing your job for you. And I really think that's changed. I mean, I really think that in the last 7 years, the way in which the models are recognized as tools, and again, if you have a great technical forecast, the communication becomes that much more important. And the way in which meteorologists have stepped up to really to clarify that and to be more confident, and to point at the moments of ambiguity or of less confidence. I think has really been impressive. And we're seeing, I mean, again, it's been a crazy 6 weeks, but, again and again, we see these successes I mean, there were other successes, but there were also failures, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And the trend is certainly in the right direction.
So, Jen, Andrew's answer is no. It's just no.
No, I love his answer. Andrew, that was the best answer ever. It's going to be recorded, chopped up, and
Good.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew.
But I will say it was really important to me to step back a little bit from, to focus on this piece of the story that I thought was less told. And it took a while to recognize that the two pieces weren't in conflict with each other, that it wasn't about choosing sides with it, that it was really about, everybody working together.
I love
All
that.
right, so last question, Andrew. So going into the book, writing the book, a non-weather guy, all of a sudden does all this research, looks into all these models to understand how they work and the history. Now that we're done, what have you learned that now you might still be using from as far as weather information that you find yourself looking at or using now that you never were before you started the book?
In terms of my own daily, you could have used the forecast.
Yeah.
I mean, I trust the detail more than I used to. My daughter's softball team, my co-coach was teasing me because he'd be like, is it going to start raining at 10 or 11? It makes a big difference. And you could get close to saying that. But that's sort of information that a lot of people discard as not possible. Or they, or the app they're using or the meteorologist they're watching, kind of smooths out the jagged edges of that. But it's pretty remarkable to see, particularly in the kinds of weather we have, in springtime in the Northeast, as an example, to say, well, okay, really looks like this rain's coming in at between in the 4 o'clock hour, and it's going to be fine until then. And that's a kind of crazy power because your coach listens to you.
So they think you've got it all now, right?
Hey, I could be a meteorologist. Yeah.
Honorary.
Well, hey, that's the sound. It is time for our lightning round. So, lightning round. This is our game show of flashy questions for our guest.
I'm having some trouble with my connection. I can't tell what's going on. I can't hear you. Sorry.
It won't matter.
That's what they all say. So we always invite everybody to play along. So if you're at home, play along with us as well. So Andrew, here's the thing. Your bio says it all. You're an author and journalist about tech, infrastructure, architecture, design, cities, art, travel, now weather. I figured if we're going to play anything with you, we're going to have to play a little Trivial Pursuit.
Okay.
I'm figuring you've got to know everything.
This is like Jeopardy, but not quite, right?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. So I've got a stack of Trivial Pursuit cards here. I'm just going to randomly pick one. But here are the categories.
Google, right?
No, that'd be cheating. You know this stuff, right? You write on everything. So
Andrew is my lifeline, just to let you know. Okay.
All right, so we have people and places. We have arts and entertainment. We have history, science and nature, sports and leisure, and then wild card.
Okay.
And I'm just going to randomly pick one card, and we're going to go through each of the questions in that one card. And we're going to just have a little fun with it. Now, I will say this. So you got Maz and Jen. You're welcome to get their feedback. They're welcome to chime in. This is a little bit of a free-for-all, but I'm going to go off of your final answer. Make sense?
I like the dance music.
Very good. All right, so here we go. So let's start. Do you want to pick which category, or should I just go down the card here?
Just go for it.
All right, so we'll start with people and places. Let me get my glasses here. All right. What snack is called a cachorro quente in Portugal, a chien chaude in France, and a pierto caliente in Spain? What snack is called those things? And again, I totally butchered it. So it's like you're thinking, well, what you said in Portugal was pizza, and what you said in France was a mouse, and what you say
a snack. It has to be a snack.
So it says, what snack is called a cachorro quente in Portugal, a chien chaude in France? It didn't sound French. I totally butchered that. And a pierto caliente in Spain.
I think a hot dog.
Ooh.
Are you serious?
What?
That is totally correct, dude.
I had a feeling.
Did you Google that?
Sorry?
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't Google that, did you?
No, I didn't. No. Didn't
Damn.
Google.
Congratulations.
I wouldn't even think a hot dog as a snack. That's a meal.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well done. So, damn.
That's awesome.
All right. Arts and entertainment. What was the setting for the Survivor Series featuring Rotu, Maramu, and Saliantu tribes?
Hot dog.
I think that was season 1, wasn't it?
I don't know. Rotu tribe, Maramu tribe, and Saliantu tribe.
I think it's going to be Borneo.
Borneo? I'm going to say that's in unless that happens to be in the Marquesas Islands.
No.
Marquesas Islands?
No.
Okay.
Close.
All right.
Close.
Very good. All right. Moving on to history.
Jen and I are like, I don't know her either.
All right. What former math? You guys are chiming in
We're like,
much, are you, over there?
Yes.
Here we go. History. What former math professor told a court in 1998, "My occupation, I suppose, now is jail inmate"? Math professor, 1998, told the court, "My occupation, I suppose, is now jail inmate."
Is that Madoff? Barry Madoff?
The Unabomber, whose name I'm now
Is that
Kaczynski.
Kaczynski? Yeah.
Theodore
Yeah.
Kaczynski.
Are
That
you
is
kidding me, dude?
correct.
Hi.
All right, here we go. Science and nature. Science and
Okay.
nature.
Andrew, you just win.
This is
What have you ever gone on Jeopardy? Have you tried?
no, but I have a journalist friend who won, and I used to do pub quiz night with him.
Yep.
And I was the worst one on the team, and then I felt bad, and then he won Jeopardy, so I was like, okay.
Wow.
You
Maybe
helped.
I was-
You had part of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No,
threw
sorry.
$1 your way.
Sorry.
All right, science and nature. What vitamin does human skin synthesize when exposed to sunlight?
D.
Right?
D.
That is
Yeah.
correct. Vitamin
Oh.
D.
Okay.
Say it
So,
faster.
is this a trick question?
D. Right.
All right, sports and leisure.
Uh-oh.
Sports and leisure.
Uh-oh.
What must an NBA player keep at least an inch away from his knee at all times?
It's not a cheerleader. Can't say that.
No.
That's just wrong. I don't know.
His
What?
his shorts.
His shorts? That would be correct.
Yeah.
He's gotta
Wow,
keep his shorts an
Andrew.
inch away from his knee at all times.
Dude.
He's
gonna
a-
Do
kick
it.
back
Do,
and just-
do a food question. I want to
Yeah.
answer one of those.
we don't have food, but here's a wild
Hot
card.
dog.
Here's a wild card. What decade spawned the Kit Kat, the Caramello, and the Rolo, leading Road Dahl to dub it the golden age of chocolate?
The 70s?
What decade spawned the Kit Kat, the Caramello, and the Rolo, and was dubbed the golden age of chocolate?
I think I'm gonna go with the 50s.
The 50s? That'd be incorrect. Try another one. What do you think?
The
the mulligan.
20s.
MJ at 80s?
Later,
The 20s?
later.
20s? Close.
Ah,
Later.
It was the
Okay.
1930s.
see, that's later.
Ah,
That's later. Yeah.
Okay.
Good
All
job,
right.
Andrew. Good
Andrew.
job, man.
Wow.
Thank you guys.
Damn.
Can
That
we can help.
High five, man.
you know, I
Yeah.
kind of thought you might do okay, but wow. You did
I know.
very
Good.
damn well
Phew.
on that. So very
Okay.
good. All right, so do us a favor. How can listeners buy your book, and how can they find you on social media?
Social media is easy. Twitter is my preferred social media. AJ Blum, AJBLUM. And my book, I have one too. You should be in finer bookstores, or certainly on Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
How'd you get the real ones? I got the pirated one without the cover. I mean,
The hardcover. This is hardcover.
I did one.
Or just torrent it. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, no, I'll say this. HarperCollins was kind enough to send us some digital copies for the co-host to read, and then some hard copies to give away. So I will say this: if you want a copy of Andrew's book, we will on our Twitter account at Stormfront Freak. Keep a look on that for next week, because we will post a way for you to enter a drawing to win his book. So appreciate having you.
Can I make
Yeah.
a quick suggestion with that? Nobody's ever looked carefully at an Easter egg of the cover. It's a clue.
What?
Okay.
There's an Easter egg in the cover.
All right, so don't tell us. Don't tell us.
Okay.
Don't tell us, because
you
that'll be
win money
that's a
if you
good
find
tease.
it?
That's a good tease for all
I
of
have
our listeners.
most of a beer here that's expired.
Most of a 5-year-old beer that we've got for you. Good. Well, hey, we'll hold on to that thought. All right, guys, I want to let you guys know about the Mid-Atlantic Chaser Con. This is coming up Saturday, October 26th. It's going to be at the Science Museum of Virginia in Richmond. They've got speakers from the National Weather Service, TV, and private sector, including Dr. John Scala, Howard Bernstein, and Brad Panovich, just to name a few. They've also just announced that they've got an after-lunch panel that's going to be comparing mid-Atlantic chasing to chasing in the plane. So that sounds like a good time. Friday night, and if you get there early, they're going to have a social mixer and pizza at the Hampton Inn for chasers to be able to share their chase videos and photo. And if you go, you're also going to get an exclusive Stormfront Freaks I Break for Storms bumper sticker while you're there. Online tickets are $30 until they're sold out, but they will end October 21st no matter what. So they're expecting capacity and not expecting any walk-up tickets. So make sure you get those ahead of time, and you can get those by going to midatlanticchasercon.com. Again, that's midatlanticchasercon.com. So we're going to go ahead and take our final break. When we'll be right back with our hashtag Weather Fools, and I got to run to the garage because I got to bring back Weather Trollbot 5000. We'll be right back. All right, Andrew, awesome job. Thank you, sir.
Thank
well
you guys.
done.
Great
Andrew,
fun.
I could listen
Appreciate
to
you having
you
me on.
just talk all day.
Keep going. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
Happy to do this.
Can you actually read
That's
the
always
book
fun.
to me?
So
I like
can
the
you give us a hint? What,
of the Easter
a
egg
hint of
Yeah.
the Easter egg
in the latitude and longitude
It's a
On the side?
Fabergé.
on the side.
in the bottom.
Yeah.
And there's an Easter egg in there somewhere.
Yep. And Jen, to answer your question, I got fired from the audiobook.
No.
There is
Really?
an audiobook, but yeah, for Tubes I read
Was
it,
it you?
and for this one they're like, let's
Really? But you have such an amazing voice. Andrew.
audiobooks
Such
have
a
changed.
soothing-
I got fired from it. I mean, the guy who did it, this guy Greg Tremblay, is great.
They expected you to talk in Thomas Jefferson's voice, and you just couldn't pull it off.
He does do voices in it. It's actually he does the Norwegian voices, and he does it's really fun. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I literally, we got the digital copy. I got the hardcover. I'm just going to get the audio. Version.
But he did a great job. But I got fired. So
Oh, wow.
Andrew, before you leave, can you do us one favor? Can you do a quick soundbite for us and say, hi, I'm the author of The Weather Machine, Andrew Blum, and you're listening to the Stormfront Freaks podcast.
Yep. Sorry. no, I got just an introduction, and you're listening to Stormfront. Okay. Yeah. Hi, I'm the author of The Weather Machine, Andrew Blum, and you're listening to the Stormfront Freaks podcast.
Good job.
Okay.
Woo!
Like
Perfect.
Listening to Alex Trebek.
It is. It really is.
I'll send you the clip of my friend of his victories. Yeah.
Awesome.
That'd be cool. That would be
please.
cool. I'll put that when we edit the video. I'll put that on the video edit. That would
And then
be
do it
fun.
in slow-mo. Yeah.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much. You're welcome to stick around for another 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so if you want, or you can head home. Doesn't matter.
What are you guys doing?
So we're gonna do weather. So one of our segments is Weather Fools.
Oh, right. Okay.
We go around and talk about or show pictures or video of people that did stupid stuff in a weather situation.
Yeah, but the troll bot, that
Weather Trollbot 5000. We take examples of trolls that have trolled meteorologists and such, and said bad things, and then what the meteorologist said back, which was usually pretty nice and professional, and then we plug it into the Trollbot, and she kicks out what they were really thinking when they replied nice and professional. So it's definitely earmuffs.
I'm gonna leave you guys and go home to bed.
yeah.
Understand.
As the sirens go by. Yeah. Thank you guys. This is really fun.
And we'll post.
What
Hold
city are
on.
you in?
We'll post the audio.
I'm in New
podcast.
York. I'm in Brooklyn. I'm in
Sorry, Phil.
downtown Brooklyn.
New York. Yep.
Cool.
So I'll post the audio podcast probably on Sunday, and I'll post that on social media, and so you can do whatever with it or take it and run with it, whatever.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Great, guys. Thanks.
Cool.
Have
Thanks,
a good
Andrew.
night.
Good night.
Andrew,
Hey,
thank you so
forget
much.
about
Thank
it.
you.
Bye.
All right.
Sorry, Phil. Sorry.
Yes, can we do a high five?
I have to remember which way I go. No, this way. Boom. That's so sad. It's like the first time on the air doing chroma key.
Oh my God, yes.
Remember?
Where am I pointing
How sad
to?
was that day? Yeah.
I think I
Day
still
one.
have that video somewhere. We should show it as a weather fool.
Did you guys
yes.
do? Was that a college?
We should.
Oh,
We should do our
man.
own weather fool of us. We should do a special one
Brutal.
of like Tina and whoever and
Hey,
Kim.
I'm always open to that.
Let's
Weather
do that.
Fool the hell out of ourselves.
Way back into the old
Yeah, we
boxes.
will. Should do it on April Fool's Day.
Okay, MJ, I got that. Any shout outs to any questions? Parker Owens, Shane's still on, Chris is still on.
Oh, thanks guys for sticking with us. You guys are
Yeah.
so
All right.
fun.
So here we go. So Weather Fools, Jen, you're gonna. So I'll we'll lead into you on Weather Fools. Introduce what it is. I have 3.
That's good. 'Cause I forgot.
Oh, I gotta pull them up though.
Yeah, pull them up.
Boo-boo.
You got one, Jen?
No, I've been
Oh
sick
God,
all
it's all
week.
me.
It's all
Yeah,
Phil.
I literally.
God,
I've
you're
been
gonna
sick,
get sick
guys.
of me because then I share all the weather trollbot crap. Oh,
That's
man.
okay.
yeah, this
It's
is fun.
okay.
No, sorry guys. It's been a really rough week. Whew.
Roof.
Woof. Yeah.
Okay,
No,
so-
it's my daughter and I got hand, foot, and mouth from daycare.
Oh my gosh, I had that.
It's horrible.
It is the worst thing on the
What
planet.
is it? I've heard it. I don't know what it is though.
It's like chicken pox, but it's
Okay.
on your the bottom of your feet, like your soles.
It
And I mean, it
hurts.
can, yeah, it hurts. You get them all over. It's basically like chicken pox, just a slightly milder version,
Oh.
sort of, but you have fever and all that stuff.
Okay.
So,
How long did you have it?
For me, it wasn't nearly as bad as Zara. She was home with me until yesterday, actually.
It was like 3 weeks.
Really?
Like, I almost missed the entire month of December. Yeah.
Holy crap!
It was brutal.
Well, I had it last year too. I've had it actually.
You've had
3
it twice?
Yeah, you
I'm
can't
not
get it.
high-fiving you anymore. What the heck?
No, it's daycare.
I'm not touching. I'm not touching you.
I discovered new things that I had no idea
Yeah.
existed. But yeah, there are different strands of it. I didn't think you could. I thought it was like chickenpox too, but nope. It's false.
I got the
All
one
right.
from San Francisco. It was bad.
Okay, so
Whoa.
I've got 3.
Yeah, Parker, it's not fun. It's not fun at all.
Parker's like that sucks.
Yeah, that's
What did he
right.
say? What did he say?
It does suck. But we're good.
That does not
Filling
sound like
your
fun.
shoe with BBs or ball bearings, and let's walk around in that.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's the
what
weirdest
did
thing.
Meredith
Yeah.
have to say?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not fun. I'm sorry, man.
Okay. So
me
are
too.
we ready? I think I'm ready here. So I've got we're good on the sound. So Jen, so we're coming to you on applause, and then introduce the segment. I've got 3 to cover, and then when I'm done with the last one, I'll let you close with it's posted on episode 88 show notes. And you can go to stormfrontfreaks.com to find those, or right on your podcast app.
Does MJ the mime have one? No, you don't have
No.
one. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I think we might have had one from a listener, but we'll cover it next
right.
time.
It's like
And
laryngitis
then
up
and
there.
so when you cover that, then I'll jump into Weather Trollbot 5000. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6.
What?
Shane, I'm sorry about that. Shane had it
Yeah.
for 2 weeks when he was a kid.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's bad.
Yeah.
What were
Sorry,
you minding
dude.
3 about? 3 what, MJ?
MJ's like, stop talking about it.
I know.
Okay. All right. So so we ready to go? I think we're good to go.
Yeah, hold on. I got it.
Do this, and then I close. Wait a minute. Where's my close?
Remember, Maz, when like you would be on set and you'd be like joking around, they're like 10, 9, 8, and then you like get your game face on. And
Oh
you're-
yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
It's
Okay, here
brutal
we
if
go.
you start
Poking
into a
around.
laughing fit and you're like, please no, please no.
Hey, you know what's funny? I was just watching today because I was doing something on Facebook, and I had posted when we had Rick Reichmuth on, and remember it was burger position.
Oh my
Or
gosh.
something. I could spit out that last position. I just couldn't spit it out. I was
That
rolling.
was-
And you were going, don't.
Yeah.
I love that.
God.
We need
Please
to have
let
our
it
own
be a
pizza
burger.
set here.
Oh
We'll
yeah.
find that. All right, here we go. Jen, count you in.
That's right. I'm counting in. Yeah.
In 3, 2.
All right, guys. Welcome back to the Stormfront Freaks podcast. And it is the best part of the show, Weather Fools. These are the people that just do things that, come on, guys. I mean, why would you even consider doing that? Whether it's on social media, it's all over the world. We kind of find them everywhere. And Phil has found 3 of them. And I believe we have one that someone sent to us, and you can send them too. So if you see someone doing something that they shouldn't be doing, that's just ridiculous, and why are they doing that? Send it in, let us know. But Phil, I want to know what your
All right,
three
so
are.
I've got three. I didn't find as many this past week as I normally have, but I tend to save these. So this was from Twitter, Matt Flournoy, who's at Rumblin' Matt. So he must he appears to be a storm chaser, but he said 5:35 p.m. Chasers parallel parked on the side of the road, making 7-point turns to turn around, and tripods on the shoulder just directly impacted the hashtag Taurus19 project and our ability to better understand tornadic supercells. Something has to change now. And he posted one photo was radar scope picture with all the
Wow.
chasers. Look at all the red dots, all
Oh,
the
yeah.
storm spotters following that. And then he had an actual photo. You could see the line of cars just straight ahead of him that were just brake lights and lines of cars. So
It's crazy chasing. My first storm chase was when I was in grad school in 2008, and I mean it was bad then. I'm surprised
Yeah.
more bad things don't happen.
It's hit and miss. I mean, some days can be really bad, and I think it depends on if the forecast looks at a very tight spot and or happens on a weekend or a holiday. You're definitely going to see tough days, but there are other days if things are spread out a little bit or there's more than one target zone on a weekday. I didn't think it's necessarily that bad. But all right, next one comes also from Twitter, and this is Darren Brooks, who's at Utah WX Man. He says, "Come on, people, don't be stupid. Hashtag turnaround, don't drown." And here it is. It's a flooded road. There's a truck. He's stopped, right, in his car, but here's a flooded road, and the water's moving across the road. You can see it build up. You can kind of see the stream. It's moving, right? It's not stale water, and he's just plowing his truck. And further down the way, you can actually see.
Does he make
What
it?
do you call that when? I don't know if he does or not. You can't see it all the way, but what do you call when the water's just spraying off the side? What do you call that? Like a tail, a water tail, or a water?
Or is it creating its own wake? It's like it's a boat. and
Almost.
That is
But anyway,
crazy.
just stupid to be going across this flowing. It's got to be a river or something or a creek that's way over the road.
What people don't understand though, if he gets any water in his engine, I mean, he's just gonna hurt his car. I mean,
Funny thing is, I just saw one today that we'll have to do in 2 weeks down in Texas.
Yeah.
There's some serious flooding going on down there, and man, I just saw one today that I'll share with everybody in a couple weeks on the next episode. But it's definitely over the truck's front grill.
Oh,
wow,
which is
what are
crazy.
people thinking?
All right, the last one comes from Twitter as well. This is a future guest of ours, Kevin Kleisel, who's from the University of Oklahoma. He's at Texas Embassy, by the way. He says, "Why are all these people sitting exposed with lightning everywhere?" And if you watch this, it looks like it's like a high school football game, and they're in the stands, but stands are covered. Stands are covered, but everyone's just sitting in the stands because they're not getting wet from the torrential downpour. But lightning is just flashing all over the place, and people are just watching it and they're filming it. But there's no protection from lightning. Okay, people, just because it's not raining on your head doesn't mean you can't get struck by lightning.
Well, no, and that's a good point. So first of all, that's probably made of metal. So
I was gonna say,
if lightning does strike them,
It's
then
getting everybody.
But and another point too, talking about lightning,
And they're sitting with their kids.
negative strikes are most common underneath like the core of the storm, where it's the positive, more powerful strikes that come from the anvil on the outside. So they're on the outside of this storm. They're not right underneath it, which means like they could potentially get a positive lightning strike or they have more opportunity. I mean, that is crazy. I would be running for the hills.
The tweet of the video was actually from Mike Sando, who senior writer for The Athletic, and he said our high school lightning delay last week looked more impressive. I don't know if you call that impressive. That's maybe
terrifying.
not what I would say there, but
Oh my
So,
gosh.
Very fortunate.
Now, do we have
right.
one more?
That's it. Those are my 3.
That was 3?
All right.
Sorry.
I know that was fast. And thanks for the comments though too. And Shane Adams is like, it's always a pickup that tries to run through the flooded water.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I got my pickup.
True. That is true. They got to remember that with the water, it gets in there too. All right, guys. So if you want to see the weather fools, kind of examine it again, laugh at it again, and be like, what are they doing? It's posted on our show notes, episode 88, and you can get that by going to stormfrontfreaks.com or on your favorite podcast app.
Very good. All right. So, hey, I ran out to the garage during the last break. We haven't had our Weather Trollbot 5000 back for a long time. But I've been collecting some trolls. We got a good group of trolls tonight. So if you love Weather Trollbot 5000, you're going to like it tonight.
Was it Janice Dean? Is that
I was just
the
about to
last
say
time?
Janice.
She might have been the last one. Yeah. So it's
that's
been a
right.
few episodes. So I will say this, our disclaimer, especially on our unedited video, is this is not for family. Weather Trollbot 5000, we bought her at a garage sale probably about a year or so ago. She's kind of old. She's a little crusty, and she will say whatever she wants to say. So this is definitely put the earmuffs on the kids or send the kids to bed is probably the best solution. If it's the edited version, we usually beep all this stuff out. But we're going to make MJ. We're going to keep MJ busy in the editing booth today. So Weather Trollbot 5000, here's what we do. I'm going to find, I scoured social media, found all kinds of examples of trolls that are trolling our weather friends, our meteorologists on TV and in social media and on the internet, and just saying stupid things. And what's great about our weather friends is that they're always very professional. They respond nice and professional, but they probably weren't thinking that when they responded that way. And so what Weather Trollbot 5000 does is we input all that information, and then she spits out what that weather person was actually thinking when they responded all sweet and nice. Okay, and it's not always beautiful. So here's the first one. You guys will like this. This was actually shared with us from a listener, Pawnee Storm Chasers. Passed this on to us, and this was first found by another listener, Nicholas Isabella. But this was from Facebook. Jim Oakley, and we're not going to hide the names. If you're a troll and saying stupid shit, we're going to call you out. So Jim Oakley commented on Weather Nation meteorologist Meredith Garofalo's Facebook page.
Oh, no.
And so this was to Meredith Garofalo. She's at the Weather Nation. Jim said, listen to this, looks like an unprofessional slut. Is she there to do the weather or to seduce someone? Dress professionally or stay home.
Oh, my.
So that's what Jim said. Now, Meredith, being professional and educated and everything else, she said, hi, Jim. I'm actually a degreed meteorologist presenting important information. That's unfortunate you feel that way. Stay safe in Arkansas this weekend. Okay.
That was very nice of her.
That was very
Very
polite.
nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna punch all that information in to the weather Trollbot, and then what she has to do is she has to calculate all this information, and then let's kick back what she said.
Here's what Meredith was really thinking. Damn, Jim. You really know how to piss off and turn away a woman with a higher education in meteorology than you. Wish I could say I really care about how you feel, but I do not. Remember to give your mommy a kiss before you go to bed tonight and ask why she did not take the time to teach you how to respect women, you unprofessional a-hole.
There we go.
That is fantastic. That is so fantastic.
Meredith,
That one
I'm
worked.
proud of you. Yep,
Yeah.
Meredith.
I love that.
I'm definitely proud of you on that one. All right, so we're not done. I got a few
good.
more here.
A
to
few.
share with you. Yep. Okay. So the next one, this is from Twitter. You guys know? Have you heard of Josh Morgerman?
Yes.
He is at iCyclone on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
He chases hurricanes, and he's now I think got a show coming out.
Yes.
He was recently in the Bahamas, and was stuck on what was that particular island?
Is it
You guys
Abaco?
remember?
Was it
Abaco?
Abaco?
That's what it was. Yep. So this was pretty recent. This was from Jeremy. Jeremy responded to Josh on Twitter. Here was Jeremy. He said, Yeah, fuck this guy. It's a little insensitive to do a show glorifying hurricanes just after 2 entire communities in the Bahamas were decimated by one. I encourage all those with good taste to boycott this ass clown.
Ooh.
Jeremy was just not in a good mood. Yeah, something was not right there. But here's what Josh said. Josh, professional guy in the weather industry. He said, glorifying. I've spent years showing folks scary, horrible videos of hurricanes to get them to understand the danger, both online and at the hurricane preparedness events. I will continue to educate without apology.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Well
right.
said. Well
Just
said.
Well said. Nice professional. So, but we're going to punch that into Weather Trollbot because I really kind of want to get an idea what Josh was probably thinking.
Can we do Weather Troll Bot every night at like 5?
We'd probably have to find enough examples, which we probably could. But all right, let's see. Kick this baby out.
Here's what Josh was really thinking. Glorifying? Fuck you, dickhead. I have been doing this for years to help educate people about preparedness and the dangers of hurricanes. What fucking good have you done to help? Nothing, I am sure. Take your self-righteous ass right back to the little hole you live in and find something worth a piss to do.
That's awesome.
You know, Josh was nice with his real response. But yeah, he was probably thinking what most of us were thinking at that point. Mads, you can come back now.
Yeah, sorry, I had audio and video trouble there. I don't know what happened.
All right. Next one. Hey, Jen, do you know Mark Elliott? We just lost Jen. So Mark Elliott is at the Weather Channel, and this was on Twitter with a comment from Patrick. So this was Patrick's comment. Mark was talking about the hurricane and it potentially threatening Florida coast, et cetera, right? Mm-hmm. Patrick said, calm down and stop scaring people. Be honest. Shut up. You're a joke. Learn how to pair a tie with an outfit or stop wearing one. This storm will do nothing to Florida, and you have known this for a long time, and you know it. Your channel is atrocious. So, Jen, this was Mark Elliott.
I do know Mark. I've actually known all of them that you've mentioned so far.
Okay. So that was the comment to Mark, and Mark's response, nice. He said, so many demands, so little time. Despite Patrick's expertise, I hope you are still staying ready and vigilant along the Florida coast. But let's go ahead. We're going to punch that into Trollbot because we got to find out. You know Mark, Jen, so he probably was thinking something a little different, right?
I know. I can't wait to hear this, actually.
All right, let's see what he said.
Here's what Mark was really thinking. What a fucking prick. You obviously don't know shit. So I'm keeping the smart public on the Florida coast aware of dangers they need to stay vigilant for. I think it is time for you to change the channel because Sesame Street is starting now.
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
That is good. Mark, well done.
What happened? I missed something there.
You did. All right. So all right. Next one. This is from Facebook. This is Lauren Rainson at AccuWeather. There's more. Lauren Rainson at AccuWeather. And this was a comment from John Mason. John said, so here's what happened. Lauren moved on from her local job to go work at AccuWeather. John said, good riddance. We don't need a hack and a turd like you in Peoria anyways.
Oh, my.
I know. Is that crazy? Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
What is wrong with people?
We should record what you just said and use that a lot.
Can I be the bot 5000?
Oh, she got plenty of stuff. So Lauren came back and said, so I'm a hack and a turd because I received an incredible opportunity to continue to grow as a broadcast meteorologist. Sir, you need help.
Good for her. Good for her.
So that's what she said. So let's go ahead. We're gonna punch that in.
Should I hold my breath on this one?
I don't know. I don't know what to expect. It's probably going to be good, whatever it is. All right, let's find out. So this was Lauren. So this is going to be kind of her response, or at least what Weather Trollbot thought. This little, it comes out in paper, like a little stream of paper, like an old register, and it's not coming out either.
No, I don't know if I believe you.
Here's what Lauren was really thinking. Turd. That is fucking hilarious. Ever think a sorry ass like you is the reason I am getting out of Peoria? Turd. Makes me smile. Thanks for that. Personally, I like using the term piece of shit to describe people like you.
Okay. She says don't, so avoid turd, just say piece of shit. Let's just get to the bottom of it. All right. Here we go. Next one.
No, there's not. Really?
I'm in love with Maz right now. Maz, get your coffee. Don't get
We
the
built
tears.
these babies up. We built these things up.
I need
All
to
right.
fill up my beer.
Hey, and MJ, you might know this. Mike Augustaniak, WCCO.
Oh, Minneapolis. Yeah.
Mike Augustaniak. Anyway, in the Twin Cities, meteorologist of Twin Cities. This was a comment on Twitter from Gary Shade. Gary said, climate change makes extremes even more extreme? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. You said that today? Provide some scientific proof rather than your opinion, or you're no better than Bill Nye, who is not a science guy. Mike came back and said, what Mike said, hi, Gary. No need to yell. Does it help to know that I'm a meteorologist with a master's degree who's been studying and researching physics and climate for the last 20 years, and you're not? So a professional way to kind of stick it to him a little bit, but let's, we got to punch this in because this might be good too. Go ahead and calculate. And here we go.
Here's what Mike was really thinking. Haha. Gary, you are no fucking science guy either. Unfortunately, I do not have enough time on air, and I am sure you do not have the comprehension to cover all the facts. But keep screaming with all those question marks and exclamation points, because if you type loud enough, maybe someone will give a shit about your thoughts.
That's one of my favorites, actually. If you type loud enough, someone might give a shit about your thoughts.
Wasn't Bill Nye the physics guy or the engineering guy?
I think it was engineering.
Bill
Engineering?
Nye, the science
Engineering.
guy. Bill.
Yeah.
No, I know the show.
I don't, truthfully, I don't.
I think he's
I don't get it,
engineering, I
but-
think.
All right, here's the last one, guys. Last one hits close to home. This was on Facebook on the Stormfront Freaks podcast Facebook page. And what it was we posted, and it was me. I'll take Jen and MJ and Maz. You are not responsible for this. You have any issues, email phil@stormfrontfreaks.com. But we posted a flip.it article about President Trump when he suggested nuking hurricanes to stop them from hitting America. And what was, this was all kinds of news outlets talked about this, and no one really said he was the one that said this, but I posted it because the article talked about here's why nuking a hurricane will not work, because there are people that do actually believe this could be something could happen, right? Oh, we'll just nuke it. And so that was the whole reason for posting it, to help people educate that you can't really do this. So here's what happened. We posted this, and then it was Christine Lors posted on our Facebook and said, he never said that. Their source was an undisclosed person in a nation, I think she meant national security briefing, that supposedly told one dude, that told another dude, and another. So it's plausible but never directly quoted. Quit saying things that aren't true in your crappy clickbait articles. Trump said this. No, actually, you can't prove that he did. Word of mouth is crap, and people will find any excuse to hate the president no matter what. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I hate politics, and I hate it more now than I ever have. I don't really follow it. I know as a U.S. citizen, I still will vote when I need to. But I hate politics. I hate being involved in it, and I try to avoid it at all costs. But this person pissed me off. So I responded back. We didn't say we thought President Trump mentioned nuking hurricanes. Not sure where you saw that. We posted an article about a widely reported story in an effort to raise awareness about what is and what isn't plausible in regards to hurricanes. I encourage you to check our entire social media feed over the last 2 to 3 years to determine if we have any history of reporting hate towards the president, because you won't find it. And I said, sorry you took it personal. Well, she came back and said, did you read what you even posted? Trump suggests nuking hurricanes. So if you didn't say it, who did? Ha ha, you guys are ridiculous. I have blocked your garbage podcast. And I finished and said it's the title of the article from flip.it. It's not our title. Read your own screen grab, because she shared a screen grab. I said, congratulations for becoming the next entry to our Weather Trollbot 5000, so you can hear what we were really thinking.
That's epic. That's awesome.
All right, so we're gonna punch in our own little our own little situation here. And now remember, this was me. I was the one that responded to that. So she's really going to be interpreting what I was really thinking. So this is gonna be fun because I can see how close she really was.
Here's what Phil at the Stormfront Freaks was really thinking. Holy shit. Calm the fuck down. If you took the time to look instead of jumping out of your Make America Great Again pajamas, when you see material like this, you'll notice we didn't write it. It is simply a post of another media company's article that also explains why you can't nuke hurricanes. There are people that believe this is an option, so it is important to teach that it will not work. Now, Sharpie Gate and the potential Alabama hurricane is a whole other story, isn't it? But hey, keep making America great again with that attack anyone that doesn't share your views attitude of yours. Weather Trollbot 5000 is going to fuck you up.
Oh! And she did.
Weather Trollbot.
Boom!
That is epic. That is epic. Can we do this like every episode?
Yeah, we just won't do 6 or 7. We'll just do a couple at a time, maybe.
Seems like we used to do
But-
2.
But go ahead and help us out. MJ is trying to show me something, but I can't see it because you got the little.
He's like,
people
look
on
how
the
many there
screen."
were. I'm like, I know.
Yeah, that's exactly
I'm actually
what I'm saying.
sweating over here. I don't know what's
All right,
happening.
so folks, if you have any that you would like to share, whether it's weather fools, whether you've seen trolls on social media, you want to share with us, you can get a hold of us on our social media accounts. Twitter, it's at Stormfront Freak. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search Stormfront Freaks. You can also email us at questions@stormfrontfreaks.com, and we'll be happy to include those and highlight you as well. So I think that just about does it for this episode of Stormfront Freaks podcast, Maz.
Thank you.
You can cool yourself off a little
Thank
bit.
you.
Thanks for listening or watching. And before I reveal our next guest, if you enjoy our show, do us a favor. Leave a great review on your podcast app or tag us on your social media account, and we'll share it on the next show. And don't forget to subscribe or follow the show. All you do is you hit your podcast app, subscribe or follow button. Works just like a magazine or a newspaper subscription, and it assures the latest show gets delivered right to your podcast inbox the moment that we release it. Special thanks tonight, especially you guys would agree. Special thanks to Andrew Blum, our guest tonight.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Yeah,
Good job, Andrew.
We had a lot of fun with Andrew. And our next episode in 2 weeks, we're going to be recording on October 3rd with the warning coordination meteorologist at the National Weather Service in Fort Worth. Jennifer Dunn is going to be our guest. So if you'd like to watch the recording live, it's going to be at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. Just check out our YouTube channel by searching Stormfront Freaks. So for MJ, Maz, and Jen, I think it's time. I'm going to signal the all clear, and we're going to catch you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
Yep.
Cheers. And we're done.
Okay,
Wow.
that was
Then we're out.
painful for me.
That was painful.
That was painful for me.
Maz, why did you
robot
turn your
cussing was
camera
painful.
off?
Oh,
I don't know why.
well,
It's like at that point people know you're on the show. I don't know.
I
what
guess.
I tried to set it up by telling it wasn't you.
I appreciate that.
It's
I
not
do.
you. It's me.
I
Really,
appreciate
trust
that.
me. It's
I
not you. It's
appreciate
me.
Wait, Phil, I need to know the Trollbot. Is it an app that does it?
It's no. I swear to God,
No.
I bought it at a garage sale. It's like a
No,
speak and
I know, but
it's
I
like
want to know
those
what app
speak
it
and
is.
Okay, you got to wait
Things-
till we're not live, and then you can tell the.
No, I'm serious. It's like a
secret to the
speak
whole
and
thing.
spell. Remember those speak and spells where you typed in the letters A, B, C, D? No, that's probably dating myself. I suppose.
Phil, how old are you?
Older
Dirt.
than you.
Dirt.
Older than you, but not as old as Maz.
True.
I'll say
true.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love all you guys.
Yeah,
Andrew
very
was
good.
so good, though. Andrew was
Yeah, he was
amazing.
good.
Jen, your microphone
What?
is it pointing at your mouth or away from your mouth or? I'm
It's
just curious.
it's
'Cause
like
I-
right here.
Okay.
No, it looks like it's.
It-
You're right.
I couldn't tell if it was like pointing at your mouth, or if it was pointing more towards the camera, or just sideways?
It's just the
completely
angle of the
sideways.
camera, I think.
Okay.
Is it sideways? Okay.
And I always say that because there's still kind of a little of a roomy echo,
It's an echo, I know.
in your room, so you got to put some carpet on your walls.